All right, is he ready?
So, all right, here, can you guys hear me still?
Yeah.
All right, good. So everyone should have already downloaded Fusion, and if you haven't, I sent a link to Dan that he can push out to you guys to download it. But basically, everyone that already has it, and then let's get started. Um, just like a begin, right? Your viewport is designed in such a way that you can like select the way you look at, I guess, everything. And if you see it here, that you have like this view cube thing on the right that I'm messing around with. So what this all this does is it just changes how you look at how you look at your canvas. And rather than using the view cube, you can also use this thing called constrained orbit down in this toolbar right here. This toolbar has a lot of like really important settings that I'm gonna go through. So this is just like you can freely change through anything, through any dimension you want. That's what constrained orbit is. And this look at thing doesn't really matter too much. Um, but I believe you can just like zoom. I believe you can just click on something and it'll focus on that object that you have, but obviously we don't have any objects in our plane. This pan uh option takes you through the canvas without zooming in or out. It's just you can scroll through the canvas basically. And this zoom option, if you scroll up, if you scroll down, it zooms out. If you scroll up, it zooms in. That's basically all you need to know about these four options. Zoom window option also doesn't matter too much. I don't really know of a case where it would matter, but yeah. Um, for all of these like visual styles, environment, um, all of these are more pertain to rendering, which is not what we're gonna do today, but you can look into them after if you like. And but what really matters is this grid snap, right? You want to make sure all of these are checked. And you want to also make sure this one is checked as well. So what all this does is when you like, for example, when you create a sketch, right? When you create like a line, and you can do that by clicking, going to solid, right? You click create sketch, and then it'll ask you to click a plane, which would be highlighted in orange. You just click one, and you can start sketching. So when you create all these do is when you create a sketch, rather than like letting you just move freely like this, it helps you snap to different like measurements. For example, I'm snapping to 5 centimeters, right? And now I can snap to 3.5. You can set like these different measurements, and I believe edit or I can't remember exactly where it is, but I don't but there's definitely a way where you can set whatever measurement you're in. And so, but for this part, it doesn't really matter what measurement you're in, as long as it works on like a basic, as long as it's numbers, basically. So with this line function, it lets you draw multiple lines around in basically any shape that you want. So I can start here, I can put a dot there, I can put one here. Like it doesn't, you're not confined to any specific like shape. You can, I believe you can also just, and if you hit escape, right, while you're in the middle of drawing, it'll just leave lines in the middle of your canvas. Is everyone following so far? Like, is there anything I need to go over? I'm gonna take that as a no. Can, can you guys like raise your hands and then Dan can call on someone or something if you do need anything? Okay. So to delete something, what you can do is you can just highlight it and you can just click the delete option, the delete button on your computer. Backspace usually won't work. You do have to like find a delete button somewhere on your laptop or whatever you might be using. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, So we're gonna start by we're gonna start by using this rectangle tool, which is pretty intuitive. All you do is you just click and drag. You can make a rectangle that would take longer with lines. So now we have like this rectangle, right? What you can do now is if you look at it, for example, from the side, it'll show you that obviously because it's a 2D object, it's a line. And if you look at it from a 45-degree angle, it'll show you like, I guess, a smaller version of what that rectangle would look like because you're looking at it from an angle, not head on. So going back to our top view, now what we want is we want to translate this this square into a 3D cube. What we can do is we go to solid in this upper tab here. You can click extrude or you can press the key E. This works for any function that has like a letter in those parentheses right next to the name. So you hit E, and then you can select any closed space that you have. A closed space is like denoted by this blue shading that's like between these lines, and it basically just shows that it's closed and not like a free space that leaks out into the rest of the canvas. So you click on this closed space and it turns darker. So now what you can do is you can go to a different view because obviously you can't like drag it up or down when you're looking at it straight up or down. And if you go into like this diagonal view, for example, it'll let you drag the arrow up or down to whatever distance you want. But let's say I don't want to do it in 0.5 increments. I want to do like 3.2 centimeters. What I can do is I can just type in 3.2 centimeters, or you can, and then centimeters is replaced by whatever unit that you're in, which is like inches, millimeters, feet, etc. So then you click enter. So that basically finalizes the action. So now what you've done is you have a 5 using this inspect button or like this measure button. It lets you just, which by the way, just lets you like see how long things are. Or you can see that this side is 5 inches. And for example, that side is 3.2 inches. And you can look at it directly head on from this perspective as well. And so now once you're done with that, you can go ahead and like clear your canvas.
Wait, Arnav, there's a question in chat.
Okay. And
Someone's asking, how do you change the units?
so okay, so I've like not actually had a case where I myself have had to change units, but here you can look, if you go into help, you could just look up measurement or units. If you
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up? You went on. You have a question?
Object sculpting. Someone in the crowd had a question about object sculpting. I don't know if you heard her.
Say that again?
Like, could you sculpt? You know how like in Blender there's like sculpting function?
Oh, I'm not like familiar with Blender, but if you like by object sculpting, like what do you mean? Like what kind of action are you trying to do? Because there's like this form thing, which kind of just which you can like kind of sculpt. You can like create a cylinder, for example.
Yeah, I don't think Fusion is made to sculpt.
Yeah, I don't think that's like a function that
I think if you want to
it's not a
sculpt,
function I'm familiar
Blender
with.
would be better.
Yeah, but I'm not familiar with Blender. You can, if you want, you can try, you can look that up online afterwards. So, no, we have our cube here. So now let's just go back to our little square. We can also extrude like small portions of this, of like this enclosed space, right? By creating like a rectangle within this bigger rectangle, you can basically select a different enclosed space to pick up, right? So now I've just picked up like this, like the borders of it. So I'm gonna go to like my angled view. I'm gonna extrude it by like say 5 centimeters. I'm gonna hit enter to confirm the extrusion. So now what I have is I have like this thing over here where it's just like a hole, kind of like a square tube, basically. All you really need to know like about like this whole extrusion thing is that it turns 2D objects into 3D objects by scaling it up or right, left, or in a 90-degree, like I guess, dimension. You can't really extrude, like for example, at an angle. Like if I tried to extrude it like so that one of the corners was like way out here, just wouldn't work because like extrusion doesn't work that way. What you can do, however, is let's like delete our rectangle. Oh, someone's in the waiting room for you guys. There we go. So
Sorry.
so what you can do instead of just extruding is you can, if you go to solid, right, and you go over here to press pull, you can, this works basically the same as extrusion, and it has for the most part the same function. But what you can do is that you can change how like the end of this extrusion per se looks, right? So what this like specific thing this like dial here does is it changes the angle to which your surfaces come off the their edges, right? So if you look here, right, it says minus 15 degrees. All that means is that the surface, this surface that I just drew, this angled surface deviates from a regular surface, which would be straight up and down by a factor of 15 degrees. And you can do that basically until you get your desired shape. For this, you would just get like a pyramid, right? And for a triangle, you would get like something similar. That function doesn't really do too much. Okay, so we have like 10 minutes left and I have to go at 5. Here. Let's cover how to make, like, for example, a house, right? So I'm not gonna scale this up to like the size of an actual house because that would just take too long and it'd be huge. But what one thing you can do is that rather than making that inside rectangle, right? There's a function called offset. And what offset does is it lets you change where it lets you like create an extra like rectangle or an extra like version of your shape that is a set distance from like the original shape. What I mean by that is, for example, let's set this one to, let's create an offset object from this rectangle that I have here. Let's set it to 2 centimeters, right? So if you go to like this these sidebars over here, if you go to like these sidebars over here, they'll show you how this offset works. So obviously you can like select your curve, or which just refers to like the lines on your whatever like lines or objects that you want to select. And then so rather than going outwards, we want to go inwards, right, to create some level of walls. So you could, and so to like switch between outwards and inwards, you hit this flip button over here. Or like alternatively, what you can do is you can change it from +2 to -2, or positive to negative, whatever dimension that you have, which all that means is a positive, it means it adds that amount, negative, it means it subtracts that amount. So obviously 2 centimeters would be way out of like proportion. So let's do 0.2 centimeters. So now that we have 0.2 centimeters, so now we have a closed space of 0.2 centimeters, we can extrude this space into open space, into our dimension, into our angled view. Let's just make it 5 centimeters tall, for example. So now we have now we kind of have like that same tube again, except it's like thinner. These are going to be the walls of our so-called like little house. And so using what we learned before, right, we can create something that looks like a roof by having that same, we can create something that looks like a roof by doing that same like push, by doing that same push function, right? So now you have solid, you go press pull, like press pull, yeah. Now you've selected something. What you can do is you go to your side view, you pull it up to your desired height. Let's say I'll do 3 centimeters. And I can make my roof at a 40-degree angle. But now the issue is that my roof is down here on the same plane as my house when it needs to be at the plane of the top of this house. So how do we create a plane that matches the top of that house? Let's just delete what we have so far. I don't know why it's like doing this. I don't know why it's okay. I think my Mac is like freezing a little bit. Like I think the program is not working for me a little bit. So I'm gonna give it a second. But basically, what you would do is, okay, I think it's good now. What you could do is you go to solid, right? And then you go to offset plane. And what you want to do is you want to pick the plane that's you want to create a plane that's parallel to your bottom plane, right? So it has the same exact like properties in the way that you can construct in the same directions, but you don't want it to be at the same level. So you can just create a displaced plane. And the way you could do that is by using a function similar to offset. By going to this construction, you go click offset plane. This does not have a key function. You go and select an existing plane. And then what you could do is you go to your angled view and you could drag it up to however tall your house is. And then you set it there by hitting enter. Everything in this program is confirmed or like set into your canvas by clicking enter. So now what you can do is I taught you guys this part. All you have to do is you just make the rectangle and you use the press pull function like this. So you go to 2-point rectangle and you make your 5 centimeter square. And then here you go to solid, you go to press pull, and you select your square. You select that square you just made, and you drag it up to however tall you want your roof to be. So now you can inset it. Now you can inset it to however you want it to be, and it'll stay. And if you hit enter, you'll have this house looking structure. Those are really all like the basics you need to know. If there's one more function that you could learn. And that would be the trim function. For example, let's say we want to split this rectangle into different parts, right? What we could do is we could create 2 lines. For example, here and here. And now we can trim the outside edges of this rectangle. So, okay, so this rectangle, so here, let's just create a different rectangle because So now what we can do is we can trim these edges of the rectangle that fall between these lines. As like, look, if you can like see, it creates two different portions of the rectangle that are separated by this, So basically, so all the trim function does is it just removes portions of a line that have, I guess, a change in surface. And what that can mean is an intersection. It can mean, basically, usually it'll just mean an intersection or like a corner, for example. So that's like all you'll really need to know about CAD to start like the basics of 3D design. Fusion is a very like 3D printing oriented design like design software. So but it's easier to teach. So once you get like kind of good at Fusion, I would suggest trying a CAD called, say, Rhino. I would try a CAD called AutoCAD, and I would try and play around with those because those have more applications in like just pure design, like not just 3D printing, just creating like pure 3D models of life scale, of like life size things. I can put like the names of those in the chat if you'd like. Okay.
All
And
right. So, oh, so I don't want to cut you off, but like, if anyone has any questions for Arnav, either in person or virtual, just let us know. I mean, if there's no questions, Arnav, do you have anything else?
yeah, I just put like some I just put like two other CADs that I've used, and I personally prefer to Fusion. But other than that, like CAD is a pretty simple thing, and there's a lot of videos on how to use CAD and a lot of different applications of CAD. So I would really suggest learning how to use CAD, especially for the long run if you're looking into a design or engineering degree.
All right, great. We can forward these software to our participants. But with that being said, I don't think we have any questions in the chat. So thank you so much, Arnav, for coming. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. All right. See ya. Bye.
Dang. All right.
Bye.
All right.